Richard, oftentimes a panelist, this time the host of the program. My colleague Peter Chivazo is in the southwest of this country. Whatever he's doing there, but I hope, Peter, you are watching us live from Naguru. In studio, I have a one-man panel, nonetheless adequately controversial for the face of Charles Rumshana. You are welcome.
The Almighty God is great. God is great.
You will be joining us, dear viewer. You'll have a chance to contribute to this. But at the beginning of this week, the Office of the Prime Minister, as they say, in fulfillment of their constitutional mandate of coordination and monitoring of government performance, organized a retreat of cabinet, like they called a special cabinet retreat, but the retreat that included permanent secretaries and representatives of local governments. The retreat was addressed, among others, by the host, the Prime Minister, and the President, and some technocrats. The President's press unit and other sources report that the President expressed his disappointment at the lagging of implementation of government programs, particularly in the most crucial sectors. He says, according to the President's press unit, that these departments are not sticking to set national plans and priorities. And we're going to speak about the retreat, and particularly the President's address to the ministers, the permanent secretaries, and representatives of local governments. Charles, I will go to you straight. And I will start you from your favorite pet subject, security, because that's where you are the program's resident conspiracy theorist, and some others have described you as alarmist on Facebook, as I have read. The President says...
And you have described me as what, yourself?
The President says, Charles, if you could listen for a minute, that political leaders, like some of you, should take the matters of security as their own responsibility, especially in their constituencies. And he's quoted as having given an example of the recent wave of crime. And that's why I'm taking you, because that's your lovely tell us, from the security point of view, what are your thoughts on the President's comment?
See, the President said that my ministers have failed me. Hmm?
I don't know, I'm listening to you.
My ministers...
Because I was not there, I'm just reading.
Yes, I wanted your statement to contradict me, that my ministers have failed me. And I have on various occasions tried to underline the operating words. So the operating word there is failed me. In other words, he has failed, but is looking for the justification, is looking for the explanation as to why he has failed. And he thinks he has failed because of his ministers. He's falling short of saying, I have failed because of my own inherent weaknesses. If you read in the book, if you read in the Old Testament, the Bible, I think it was King Nebuchadnezzar or someone there who had a dream, who saw a hand writing on a wall and wanted its interpretation. And Daniel said, yes, that you've been weighed and your days are numbered. Yes. What is interesting in it, it's the President who has weighed himself, and he has found himself wanting. He's not measuring up to the situation. I'm not very sure about the days being numbered, but when you go into that situation of security, which is taking lives, then it's a little bit more serious. I think since independence, I'm not aware of when we have had mass graves other than in the regime of President Yoweri Museveni, in the reign of President Yoweri Museveni, in the trinity of President Yoweri Museveni. It's when we have had mass graves. But it was a little bit more serious when we had them in Kasese. That's what I'm trying to say. In the Rwenzori region, recently when there was that attack, mass graves. And the statement of the Minister of Internal Affairs, General Aronda, was that every dead body in the mass graves was going to be accounted for. But they couldn't go ahead to give it to the public. It stopped there. The other time was the Chibwete, where people were killed in Kanungu and the bodies brought to Kampala and they dug under houses and buried there dead bodies. In some of the houses in Makindi, they were in hundreds. It happened here. So it's a little bit more serious. The security system of Uganda is built along the LOC system. So you have the National Security Council statute. It defines the head of security at the district as the resident district commissioner, the head of the district security committee. And it also defines the head of the district intelligence committee as the district, the resident district commissioner. But it goes on to have a GISO at the sub-county level. So they are built on the LOC system. But the ministers that we have, the political leaders that we have, the policy formulators that we have, prefer to use those security systems not for managing security, but for managing mass mobilization for political reasons. So where has Mururi Mukasa gone? He was with security. Security is found wanting. The president is complaining about it. And where has he taken him? To gender. What is with gender? Emancipation of women, empowering of women. What is with gender? Emancipation of youth and empowering of youth. That's why you're having money. Youth fund, that wants to have the women fund. It is to do with the helping of the people with the disabilities. That's in gender. All programs that are the elderly. Actually, there is even money, I think, from Europe, from, I think, British aid to help the elderly. Programs that deal with the common person, that deal with the uplifting of the common person from poverty, are with gender. Now, you have a minister whose performance is seen to be wanting, whose sector has not lived up to its desired goals, and where do you dump him in gender? So that gives you the focus of the president. But before you look at those very, very critical areas to do with security, to do with your immediate survival, look at for instance, the condom, Ngabo. You design a condom, you give it a name, Ngabo, probably targeting Batoro, and it's fake. It's fake. What is the result? Now we have the highest proliferation of HIV in Toro. I think it's leading or second leading tribe in Uganda. Not that it is heavily promiscuous, no. Not that it is terribly immoral, no. But you killed it. You gave it a fake condom.
In other words, Charles, let me get you corrected on that. You are accusing the government of a genocide on the Batoro.
Yes.
Through a deliberate move of giving them condoms that are fake. Is that what you are saying?
Why did they use that word?
You have not answered my question, but go ahead.
Why did they use that word? They could have chosen another word like, because this one is not rough rider.
Certainly, Engabo is a word that cuts across.
Oh yes, but in this case it was actually where it even cuts across, because even in the Ushenyi area, the proliferation of HIV is too high.
I don't know the statistics you are using.
No, I'm using, you know, there were celebrations in Toro.
The latest report on HIV, the very latest.
By who?
Who? By who? It's called the WHO. So I thought you meant the WHO when you said who. By who? Says, and it's the latest. There is another survey that is going to take place. Because I'm saying this because I'm in health communication.
No, yeah, you are their propagandist.
No, but you see, Charles, Where I know statistics, I must take you on. At least allow me to do that. I know I'm moderator today, but there is where you give statistics and I am differently informed.
I haven't given statistics.
No, you said it is the
Jesus
highest.
Christ, Jesus Christ.
You said
Can
it
we-
is the highest. That is a statistic. So,
No, let me
Talking-
be a moderator.
talking about
Let me
the
be a moderator.
president's comments, and I asked you about security, because surely on health communication I have some knowledge that I need to be allowed to say. So talking about this retreat and the president's comments to ministers, the other point that was talked about, and you're taking me to health,
No, you done.
because I asked you about security. And Ngabu probably is a security issue, the condoms. But now you take me to health. One of the things that was given as an example was the typhoid outbreak. And probably typhoid is also being administered to the water for the people in this town. What's your take on the health sector?
Don't move me from the deliberate spread of HIV. In any case, I'm not the first to raise it. It was even raised in northern Uganda. You remember?
Ah, okay. So Ngabu also went to northern Uganda. Fine,
Very good.
fine.
No,
Ah,
I'm
okay.
not talking about it specifically the use of Ngabu.
Mm.
Because when they held the celebrations in Toro, HIV celebrations in Toro, the statement was they were the second or first. I don't have it there. Come again? Yeah.
They were celebrating HIV.
HIV Day, International HIV Day.
Okay.
I've attended, I carried out a sample because you're talking about surveys. My own area, where I come from, Rujumbura. For every 10 barrios I attended, if you carried out a study, 70% were HIV. So if you tell me that its infection rate is at 30%, it does not reflect the ground. If you go to Rwenshama fishing ground, out of 130 something kids, pupils in the school, more than 100 were HIV. The men was around 93%. Those who are actually sick, for every 100 you check. But if you look at the policy, the intervention measure, and it is ABC, and you have a condom, not only is it expensive, but in procurement you deal with the supplier to give you a cheaper condom, and which is fake. We had a drug called metakelvin and several other drugs that were fake. The officer that helped us, and I have really cried over this one for a very long time, who helped us, was helping us at official level in terms of operations to arrest fake drugs, affect these condoms that are fake. His own was dismissed. My plea was that he should be reinstated, and he couldn't be reinstated because the mafia is still at large. Now you go for your water. Go and check Lake Victoria. Not only is it reducing in the level, because this one is visible. If you go at the source of River Nile, it's visible. Not only is the water, the Lake Victoria reducing in its level, but the quality of the water, it's now color green. If you go some of these beaches, water is I mean, the lake can't be protected. We no longer protect the lake. You can't imagine how many tons of sewage that are deposited in that lake. There is no deliberate policy of protecting the lake. We are destroying the swamps. The only thing we have is the warning of the president about the destruction of swamps, but it's more or less like a deliberate policy. You go and check at Chinawataka, who are doing it. They steal money from the state, they use it to destroy the environment. People reclaim swamps.
And they moan about it.
Yes, the president, I'm still looking, trying to figure out why. Why does he do it? That the birds have eaten you have destroyed your garden, and then they sing in it. Now, and 70% of the water that is used for food production and generation of power, production of power. All these are very critical for life. For every 100 on us in the next 10, 15 years, 40% will not have access to water at all.
And that's where?
The whole world.
Thank you very much.
But
I wanted to bring you to that one.
Yeah, but
that the receding of water sources, the challenges of water are not only in Uganda. So when you
but
ascribe
you see-
them only to Uganda, you are probably being unfair to this country.
You see a progressive leadership on how it treats very critical areas of life.
So there is no progressive leadership in the world.
This is reactionary. I'm talking about our own situation because in our own situation, if Federal Castro was here, actually I understand even challenging President Museveni about it, of how many liters of water do we have in Lake Victoria. Because serious leaders in this region, of course led by our president, by now should be aware of the liters of water we have in Lake Victoria. Because this is the most formidable, sizable mass of fresh water we have on earth. It's a very serious resource. First and foremost, you don't know it. Secondly, you don't preserve it. If it hadn't been preserved by the past generations, would we be? So if you can't preserve, forget about water mixing with fishes and then we're drinking it. If you can't preserve that mass of water, what else can you preserve? So this is why I would see it's an indicator that shows you how malicious our leaders are, and it's not surprising, therefore, that they are wanting. So if you can't manage the preservation, then how will you manage security? Of course, the population now is used to killings. If you have a headline that 100 have been killed, people wouldn't be bothered. I mean, it's like it has become a norm, and it's very, very dangerous. The other day, 5 workers were burnt in a factory. Other states would even declare days of national mourning.
Which ones?
Several have done so.
Which ones?
Several have done
Which
so.
ones?
France has done so. Remember when they killed
Where
journalists?
in Africa have they declared
Even
a state of
in
emergency
West-
because
in
some factory has burned?
I'm talking about people dying
Oui.
in those kind of...
In which of the countries?
There are very many. Even in Kenya,
okay.
they have.
Okay.
Even in Kenya, they have.
Okay, I'm not sure.
In West...
I'm not sure which of the
you think
incidents.
if-
But anyway, let's continue. Yes. Because you see, I'm taking you step by step.
So now,
the security.
in this instance,
the security.
Why don't I finish?
No, because I give you time to talk, but I also have to be sure that I get what you're saying. One, in the matters of security, as a country, there is no security, and the deaths are occurring and we don't care. In the matters of health, the state is deliberately killing its people with HIV and other things.
And by supply of fake drugs.
Yeah. Now, in education.
You carry out a survey of the elites who manage the state. How they vote. How they vote. If you told them that their children should go public schools, they would prefer to be refugees.
I actually don't know elites in any part of the world who take their children to public schools. But let's go for a break. We are going to come back on that point of education. I do not know of any society in the world where moneyed people take their children. Those are the ones, the moneyed people. They are the ones who manage society. They manage business, they manage politics. They never take their children to public schools anywhere in the world. But maybe you have examples. Let's go for a commercial break. When we come back, that's the point from which we shall start. And dear viewers, you'll also join us. The numbers will be rolled on the screen. Don't go out.
Think you have nothing to sell? Look around your home. You'll find something you don't use anymore that you can sell on OLX.
Simply download the OLX app, take a photo of the item you want to sell, post it on OLX for free, meet the buyer, and tunda! OLX, everything sells.
Health Center Point Services tuli bakugu mu kujjanjaba endwadde ez'enjawulo nga tukosa eddagala erijjanjabira mu byokulya. Tulina ebyuma ebikebera buli kitundu kya mubiri gwo era nga biva Bungereza n'Amerika. Tujjanjaba endwadde ez'enjawulo nga sukaali, sickle cells, ania, abagwa ensimbu, pressure, kansa, abalwadde b'ensigo, abakyala n'abaami abatazaala, abaluma omugongo, okusannyalala, abaami abanafu mu nsonga z'amaka, abalwadde b'ekibumba nnyingi zange ku London Chambers, Wilson Street, okuliraana Pioneer Mall, room 14 ne 15. Tukubire ku ssimu okumanya ebisingawo.
Boss man, you like the bike?
This is what you're going to do. Download the OLX app. Take a picture of what you want to sell. Post it on OLX, meet the buyer, and get some serious cash.
OLX, everything sells.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. In case you have just joined us, it's the Face Off on WBS Television. My name is Baguma Tinkasimere Richard. I'm your standing host this evening, and I'm with a one-man panel this evening, Charles Rumshana. And we are looking at the President's comments during this week's special cabinet retreat that took place at the office of the Prime Minister. And generally, according to the statement from the press unit of the President, he decried the lack of adequate service delivery, particularly in the most crucial sectors of this country. And he accused government departments of not sticking to set national plans and priorities.
And what explains this?
Please do explain that.
Because there is no policy or coherent policy on state Mabugo.
So would you recommend that the policy is developed?
No, I'm not that simplistic.
Okay, you wouldn't.
I'm not that simplistic. Let me have my free flow of thought.
Yeah, but I just want to capture there is no policy on state Mabugo. Okay.
Very good. So and that gives the priority. The set priority. That's how it's run. It's to whom it may concern. It's all about the voter. It's all about where can I have this popularity, whichever its definition. So someone has had live in a house, they call it a house, live on television, because there is a crowd following that person, then the person gets a ride in a helicopter. And that explains to you why you're having complications or contradictions in the education system. Because policies that affect children are implemented when you have not thought through them. That's the tragedy. Now, the last ones on UPE, like when we launched the register, the national register.
The funds for this school are channeled through a district. A district, no. Oh my God.
The capitation grants for secondary school, I'm not sure it's through districts.
You're not sure?
I'm not very sure.
But so who supervises education?
I'm missing my point because of interruption.
You see why I'm taking you on, Charles, and this is it, is that you should be factual too. And so this.
So why am I not factual? That the school, Aromo Senior Secondary School was not a good.
No, I am saying
school.
That.
What's your problem?
No, it's not a problem. I'm taking you on this. That when the President says local government officers, local government officials, elected officials, and that's what he said, should be on the ground, but they are not. So they can have a ghost secondary school in your constituency, in your district, as a councillor in your Gomborora when you're elected. Don't they share responsibility?
The other school which I personally monitored was in Mukono, no, Kayunga. I don't have the name of that school here. And we were going to check on ghost teachers. Teachers who were on the payroll but were not in the schools. And asked the members of staff. They didn't know about those names. I asked the children didn't know about those names. Now, specifically for the chairman, LC5, Yumbe, where we did head count, more than around 65% of the pupils were ghosts. It was that bad. And they disputed the results, so we sent in CID. To follow up now case by case. Of course, it was a little bit problematic because you have to open up a file on every ghost pupil, and considering that the numbers were too big, it became a problem. But the teachers, the head teachers, now confessed in their statements to police that they had received orders from the DEOs and from the chairman LC5. And the same was true in Busoga. Now the danger with this is that when government is allocating resources, it follows the population of children. So when you have very many children in terms of statistics, then the more the school allocations, classrooms. And so you would have areas that have classrooms without pupils, and then you have pupils without classrooms. That was the distortion. And all this is brought by corruption. Now, the facts were available, and government didn't act. You know, it acted to some extent, i.e., to do the investigation and establishing the facts, but it didn't punish. And that has been basically the problem. Now, the other problem is the school cycle. They are called cycle. The last time I mentioned was cycle 10, i.e., procurement of books. And it's millions of dollars. That time it was $10 million. And they were fighting over who to publish. If you can imagine the corruption that is there, it's a little bit more serious. So we are talking about the quality of education. You are talking about the video. You are talking about the classroom, and you are talking about the welfare of the teacher, the morale of the teacher. Now, parents came in to augment their teachers. They came in, and we had the PTA. PTA was the first casualty of UPE, i.e. the president disengaged the parent from the school. Because parents were concerned about their schools. They had come in. I was a student at the same time, a parent myself, because I would work during provide labor. For parents were supposed to do that, and I would do it for myself. So I know what it meant. I was a teacher in Masaka, Butende, primary school at Matanga, and I saw how the parents took care of us. They would give us bananas, and then you would have 1 or 2, 3 sacks of a meal and send it to Kampala and get some little money. I saw the respect that the parents gave us, because they wanted to attract us to remain in Masaka to teach their children. But you now disengage the parent, and what is your allocation? Less than around 6,000 shillings, I think, a year. And the counterpart in the private school is 1.8, and you expect these children to compete. Same level, same everything. Now,
and those are the same things that the president raised.
Yeah, but you see.
Because, for example, it gets more money because they claim to have more pupils. So think about it. If you have a district chairman, elected official, a DEO, appointed official,
I.e. sold, and the officer who sold it was identified. But what was the end result? My friend lost his ribs. They broke his ribs. His rib is a living testimony.
The officer is still there in the State House or President's office, whatever.
You see, that's the difference. That you fight them, they cruise in heavy vehicles and cruisers, they build sturdy buildings in the swamps, and you'll be on the road walking if you are like a type of border. Now, then it comes to ghost soldiers, where the president would have a lot of interest. The same guy is deployed, but he spent most of his time in CMI cells because he was discovering ghost soldiers. Where did it end? This is where the president has direct interest. I remember one of the ministers was found having stolen a TV. It can be extremely very ridiculous, but that's the situation in which the strategy. Let's disperse those who help them to steal, and they remain at large. But the churches or religious institutions exhort the ones who are given front seats. Jesus Christ loves them a lot because their envelopes are fat. He does not have any business to do with the poor. It is racial. In other words, you get
these kinds of government officials at local government level, at permanent secretary level, and at cabinet level. Do you really think it's possible that they can speak candidly and honestly about these issues?
on corruption?
All these issues, all this performance of government, is this possible?
Yeah, I don't want to think that they were being honest. In other words, you have somebody who is lamenting, whose soul is lamenting, who is lamenting to his soul. he feels guilty. It's like if you have stolen food from a kid. If you have stolen the kid's food, you would have a conversation with your conscience. So these people feel, they thought they were revolutionaries. They feel that they cost this revolution of theirs cost a lot this country in terms of deaths, in terms of lives, and they feel now they've not given the population a raw deal. But because the population doesn't mind, you can come again and grow over it. So gross over it. But corruption is so endemic, and I've said this before. If you were to put a price tag on a necklace of the teeth of President Museveni, you would wake up one morning without teeth. The corrupt are that sophisticated that the president can go and launch a road, Katosi Road, and launches air. There is no road. But the President Museveni, I know, he would have deployed gunships.
But Charles, the road is being worked on actually.
No, if
I have driven there. We have a project there in my other capacity. Actually, there was equipment on the road, and the road was being worked on.
By the way, let me tell you, we have had those kind of people who speak like you in this country. One of them is the engineer Kazwe. Dr. Kazwe, the former vice president. See, the dams are there.
No, but
you are standing on them.
Charles, don't joke with this. Don't joke with this.
You don't see them.
I have. There is a project. We support women and orphans there. In my other capacity, that road was being graded. Now, I am not saying there was no theft on that road, but it does not mean.
I'm talking about the
it
theft.
does not mean there is no wax.
No,
and those are the facts I keep saying. Yes, please talk to us.
Yeah, I'm going to away again. Yeah, Michelle's analysis is very correct. And I think we should address the issue that is raising other than being defensive. At present, Uganda is suffering from Museveni mania. And that is the problem. There's a leadership problem. God forbid. Thank you.
All right. You are watching the face-off, and you can join us, and we hear your comments. He didn't tell us his name, but he said he was calling from Boyogere. Yeah, please, you can also join us, and we hear your comments. We are talking about President Museveni's remarks while he was opening the special cabinet retreat at the beginning of the week. Yes, just talk to us. We can hear you. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, you are live on the face-off.
Hello.
You are live. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes.
There was a nice voice in the background. I think that's a baby. But you can still call us. We will be very happy to have you on the show, to have your comments. Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead. Hello?
Hello.
Can you please go ahead? We can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you. Please go ahead. You are live on the face-off.
This is John. Hello.
Oh, hello. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you. Please, your comment and where you're calling from and your name. Sorry, we have lost that one. But you can call in and talk to us. Charles, this one says we are suffering from Museveni mania. That was his comment.
Yeah. You see, President Museveni has weighed himself, and according to his statement, he has found one thing. So we are trying to, actually, I'm trying to support him. That yes, there is a problem. What do we do? Do we get Fira and Pano beat him and move on? Do we push him aside? What do we do? That comes in later. But we have to analyze: is he right? And what is the output of this massive failure? And now let's look at a region like Busoga. When I was in primary, I knew Jinja as the second largest town in Uganda, and I also knew it as the industrial hub of Uganda. That's how I knew Jinja. And when I was at the university, I also knew Jinja as the producer of food. Actually, Jinja was feeding Kenya with maize. What is the situation in Jinja as we speak right now? It is grappling with the politics of plantational agriculture, the sugarcane. If you went into the dynamics of the sugarcane, it's a disaster. It's a disaster because even those who are involved in the sugar plantation, the outgrowers, can't afford the sugar. That's how bad it is. But it has affected food production. And you know, we are dealing with food production, you are dealing with food security. What do you see in Busoga? You see jiggers. You visualize a situation where a human being is attacked by jiggers, is overwhelmed by jiggers until he dies. And then you have got a professor, you have got a speaker of parliament who is a lawyer, and several other lawyers coming to attend the burial. You see, it's that pathetic. And the second one, other than the jiggers, you have the president in a helicopter. Half of it is full of flowers, what you call wreaths, and is coming to lay them on graves of people who have been killed by insecurity. By insecurity. Not until they have been. Where does the president, where do you get that time? Because by the time you reach.
I am imagining a helicopter.
Yeah, by the time you reach.
Full of wreaths.
And by the when they were taking them from Kampala, they were heavily guarded. There is a vehicle opening the road for flowers, for wreaths.
Among the things,
for what?
Among the things he talked about.
For what? For the president to go
By the way, the problem
of insecurity.
Actually, the problem of jiggers is larger in Kenya. I was in Kenya recently,
now,
and I found they actually have a big project for jiggers, but I didn't want to get into
it. And you see, the problem with the jiggers, is that they don't respect the borders.
They are crossing
but
borders.
The question is, where do they start from? The concentration is they move there by diffusion.
Yes, and I'm bringing you on the next.
Let me finish this point, then
because there are several issues he talked about, and I wanted us to go through them. I know you have your pet subjects, but we also need to have time.
I want to finish on this this thing of the sugarcane.
But
it's very critical.
No, I was just going. I was just going to remind the viewers that they can also call in.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to do. Then you can continue with your.
It's very critical.
So, dear viewers, you can also join us. You can call in. The numbers will be rolling on your screen. You can call in. You can join this conversation, and we can talk about service delivery in this country. And when you go through, don't wait to listen to yourself.
Hello?
Because there is a caller online. Please go ahead.
Hello?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Well, because he worked with Museveni. You know, Museveni can make an appointment with you that can't meet me on such a time. Even call this satellite system where I said, put this man down, I would call him. Then, as soon as you leave, a different person is given. Ramasana, you can bear witness about this. So we are dealing with a guy who is so cunning, and the guy who doesn't want to accept any blame. You do anything on behalf of Museveni, when time comes, like the time for election is coming, he turns away, he leaves you in the fray. It's very unfortunate that we have this situation in Uganda here. God bless Uganda.
Thank you very much. Yes, you can join us. The line will be screening. And when you come on air, don't wait to fast listen to yourself. As long as we say you go ahead, we'll be hearing you, and the entire country and beyond will be listening to you because we are streaming live. We would like to know who is calling in on us. Where are you calling from? And please your name, so we are happy. Hello. Somebody else is online. Talk to us. Hello? Somebody is online, but I think they have gone off. Yes, you can join the conversation. We are talking about the president's comments at the opening of the cabinet retreat, where he decried the poor delivery of services to the country and not sticking to goals. Hello? Hello, caller, we can hear you. Can you please go ahead? Somebody's online, but they are not coming through properly. Charles,
So,
the question of plantation agriculture, particularly the
Sugarcane.
no, I'm actually, for me, I want to just say it is even larger. The non-food crop plantation. I think part of the problem of Busoga is actually that everybody was excited about the resources that were coming in initially from the sugarcane. And I agree with you, the lack of guidance. Because you see that with tea, the initial excitement. We saw that with vanilla, that initial excitement that comes, and then, you know, people have trouble.
Now, so the most arable land is taken by this sugarcane. Of course, you know who is the owner of this sugarcane.
I don't know actually.
And this owner of the sugarcane is the one who supplies bottled water. We don't follow what they are doing with this bottled water. Now I can comfortably tell you that we had Operation Q, and we found most of this water wanting. I even remember the statement from General Katumba was that he was now going to begin boiling his own water. So you have to be very careful with this water, more especially if the producer of this water is not a person of high moral integrity. I'm not suggesting that all water is bad, but it's the same person who distributes.
I was going to ask that.
But it's not the same person. He's the same person who distributes medicine. It is his pharmacy that distributes medicine. I have also witnessed them distribute fake drugs. He's the same person who is selling your children sweets, the supermarkets, but above all, he gives you unga, I mean fra, for baking. Forget about the brand. I shouldn't fight people's brands here. The fra that makes chapati is the one who makes you chapati, is the one who makes you oil that works on this chapati.
Now, that's where I was coming in.
So you need to protect this kind of population, otherwise you will see this population dwindle in numbers.
And that's
but over and above this,
yes,
what does this person feed on? Is feeding on chapati. Actually, most of our young people, their full meal, their full diet is chapati, what you call a chikamandu. And
most,
it's not...
Most?
Yes.
Which statistics are those? But let me your comments, yes. Hello, tell us where you're calling from. Tell us your name and your comment.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you. Please go ahead. Okay, probably there is a challenge. I was telling you that you were talking about the question of industries and the production that is happening. One of the things that came up in the discussion, according to the statement, during the retreat, was in fact, I think the new vision started with that privatization has been stopped. That no more privatization.
Yeah, you see, if you go to Kenya, most urban centers in Kenya are around production. Most urban centers in Kenya are around production. What are the urban centers in Uganda? They are around consumption. But consumption of the things we don't produce. So you in Kenya, where you find a small town, then you know there is a small factory, there is a small industry around. That's how the Kenyan system. Now the only crisis they have is the crisis of markets. That's the same problem with China. China is now having a crisis of markets, and that's why it's talking about banks for infrastructure development.
I'm advised that somebody is online. Your name, where you're calling from, and your comment, please. We can hear you. I think there's a challenge.
Now, when our forefathers, when they were making Uganda in 1960s and early 1970s, they had a vision about production, about industrialization. I'll give you the example of ranches. I think it was developed somewhere in Egypt and were chosen here as a model. Vice President Babeiha, if I can be corrected, was responsible for this project. We had the ranches. When NRM came into power, their priority was to kill the ranches. But you can visualize how much meat we consume here. Look at the dairy corporation. Killed, finished. But you see the model then was, the model was state corporations.
We don't have ranches anymore.
Come again?
We don't have ranches anymore.
You remember the restructuring of ranches?
I was grazing cows there, actually. I remember very well.
Very good. What was it aimed at? It was more aimed at giving people land than developing the ranches. If you had issues with Garugas, because I remember even one of the ranches that was destroyed or taken away was Garuga.
In the old system of production and productivity, are there new things that we need to do to modernize? Do we have, for example, towns or cities in America, in Europe, which used to be industrial cities and they have also died? Is it only Jinja which has this fate? Do we have examples from elsewhere? And those are some of the things we are going to discuss when we come back from the break. Don't go out.
Introducing Yuga Chick Super. Chicken pieces that are individually quick frozen and easier to prepare. Yuga Chick Super has been packaged conveniently for your family. Buy Yuga Chick Super from a supermarket near you.
Think you have nothing to sell? Look around your home. You'll find something you don't use anymore that you can sell on OLX.
Simply download the OLX app, take a photo of the item you want to sell, post it on OLX for free, meet the buyer, and tunda! OLX, everything sells.
Stop chasing bonuses that don't last. Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom never expires and gives you up to 100% guaranteed bonus every time you load airtime. Simply dial *100#, select Bonga Forever Ever, and talk and text all networks with the bonus that lasts. Get Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom.
Uganda Telecom, Uganda's most affordable telecom service.
Welcome back, and you are watching the Face Off on WBS Television. Baguma Tinkasimira Richard here with Charles Rumshana, and we are looking at President Museveni's comments when he opened the cabinet retreat at the beginning of this week, where he said service delivery is lagging due to lack of departments of government sticking to plans and priorities, but also because of inadequate supervision by the politicians and the technicians, the technical people. Charles, one of the things that has swallowed trillions of shillings in the recent years in these budgets are the roads. And one of the areas, and we have seen, I mean, the only issue, the issue that probably came out now, I think there has been enough talk about roads, was the question of way bridges. I'm not even sure how many people really know about way bridges and care about them. But the other thing about the roads that the president talked about was the procurement of equipment, road equipment, for local governments, and the fact that local government leaders do hire these out to private contractors.
I had a point I wanted to finish on production, but because it's also related with this. For the infrastructure is part of production. Is a factor of production, or facilitates one of the factors of production, which is transport. You see, if you are dealing, like for instance in our case where we have agriculture, which I think is around 70 to 80% of our economy. Production, it's a process, it's a complete process. You deal with production, you deal with processing, you deal with finance, you deal with storage, and you deal with marketing. It must be a whole. You cannot do it you cannot zero on one part at the exclusion of the others. Of course, the infrastructure and the other things facilitate any of the above, all of the above. And that's why we had, then the model was cooperatives. The model was state corporations. Because like for instance, can a private person insure agriculture? It's a little bit tricky. So you have a state corporation to do with insurance. Are other commercial banks, private commercial banks, ready to risk their money in agriculture? It's a bit tricky. So you have the cooperative, you have UCB as a state corporation, and interestingly, when they sold UCB, they sold the cash because it had assets that were about to mature, the treasury bills that were about to mature. I went in to study that, and the resident director from Bank of Uganda was shocked at the data I had, but couldn't give me access. They allowed those fellows who bought it, read who stole it, to do due diligence, even in the banker itself. It's pathetic. So you see how these corporations were killed. You see how these state companies were taken. Interestingly, those that are alleged to have been sold to Libya, for instance, like this telecommunications, UTL. The same agent for Gaddafi is still the same agent of the various rebel groups that have taken over Libya. It's interesting that those who hated Gaddafi and couldn't even give him a fair trial, who hated his children and decimated them, still deal with the same agent of Gaddafi. Really, do you want to convince me that these corporations were bought by Libya? I can only believe that if I'm a fool. But they used Libya as a name, incorporated it here, and store our corporations. So for the roads, for the roads, you import tractors. Road equipment. Have you trained the drivers? It's a simple thing. Because initially, districts had district works departments.
They still exist.
They killed them later. They had them. We had what we called PIDA that was looking after
Public Works Department, and that's not necessary for the district. But even now, districts have district engineers, have district.
No, and I mean then now, when they put out.
Oh, there's somebody online. Hello, somebody. Do you have a caller? Hello. Yes, tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your comment. They've gone again.
So when they put 2 trillion, I think around 2 trillion for roads, they stopped that policy and went for private tendering, because they wanted to use their own companies that they had put in place. I don't want to go into their names because for lack of time. But the companies were not ready to absorb this money. So for that time, money was returned to the treasury. Now you have the road fund, and the supervision of Parliament over the road fund is minimal. Actually, Parliament is more interested in the consolidated fund than in the road fund and the energy fund.
Did you read about the GOTS?
Which GOTS?
For MPs?
GOTS?
Oh yeah, during the handover to Honorable Biabagan, it was reported that the parliamentarians put pressure on Works to work on the small roads in their constituency. In the Ministry of Works, they called them GOTS. That you have to give the members of parliament their GOTS, i.e., you have to work on their small roads under their pressure to have them re-elected, because that's what they count and claim. Now, corruption at what level, even if it was supervising?
Let me tell you, it's very dangerous for an economy to invest in infrastructure if it has not developed local capacity to work on that infrastructure.
And that's what is being provided for
because
in the equipment, in buying the
forget
equipment.
about this. Kudomas, let them do that to part-time thinkers, not...
So they shouldn't provide equipment to
you interrupt
districts.
me before I finish
No,
my
no,
point.
because you have said, I'm
So-
following up on your point. Because I want clarity. I keep following up for clarity. You say that the districts need to be equipped
I haven't said that.
with capacity to work on their roads. This is what is being proposed in this one. With the allegation that when it's put there, it is given hired out to private people. That's part of the corruption you're talking about, or is it not?
The point I'm trying to make is that investment in infrastructure, the main objective is to spur the economy because it's high expenditure. If you have studied the tenets of national income and government expenditure, because you must do a lot of taxation to remove the money you have spent. And you know, it also relates with the money we spend outside. Because we get $1 through coffee, we get $1 through people who are doing cheyo, we get $1 through exporting our services, but you bring in here a contractor to work on a road, you give him all this, you give him this money, he takes it out in $1. So if you want to spur the economy, if you want to rejuvenate the economy that is very weak, the world over, policy of government, the strategy of government is always to invest in infrastructure. In other words, you don't invest in infrastructure as an end in itself. No, it's a means to have the economy take off. And therefore, the best case scenario would be that you develop local capacity to work on your infrastructure. And Makerere University is fairly old. I think it's beyond 50 years, far beyond 50 years. It must have produced enough engineers to work on our roads. This thing of having tractors for districts, just politicking. Because by now, these units should have developed capacity long ago to work on their own roads. So that you don't need to have a Chinese, have an Indian, have a Taiwanese, etc., Japanese, to come and work on your own roads. Semburi, steel mills, closed. You give money to Basajja Baraba.
But why did it close?
Certainly because of some of these problems. One, doesn't get the jobs. Two, the interest rates are too high. Probably management issues. That's a different matter. Companies collapse the world over. Even in America, they collapsed. But what does America do when their companies collapse because of recess? They come in and invest in infrastructure, do positive discrimination, what you call gender, and help their companies.
Affirmative action.
Yeah, affirmative action. They help their companies by giving them jobs and giving them capital, and they take off. Sembule Mills has appealed for assistance.
It has actually been helped twice. I am sure you know that. They have been given money twice. I'm sure you know that.
Those are your stories.
No, I am sure you know that, Charles.
Those are your
You know that they
stories.
have been given money twice.
You have told me you're a communications expert. Bagumandeka.
No, you know twice. They have been given money, and you know this.
We are going to go out together Sunday.
Yeah, because we are going to go out, and I'm going to say, why do you refuse to agree to some of the things you know?
So Basajja Baraba is given
Somebody
money.
has been given money twice.
You have said it. Those are your
Two
stories.
times.
I'm not going to argument you. You said it. That's your word.
Okay. So you can
Basajja
disagree with Basajja Baraba.
The larger point is that you have a company here belonging to a non-citizen, not belonging to the local, and I'm not saying you shouldn't buy from him, but that you have investments in dams, and these dams are going to consume a lot of steel. It's prudent that you help your own company that belongs to the indigenous to create these jobs. So that was the danger. You killed state corporations. You didn't have affirmative action for your own to develop their local capacity. And the available institutions don't belong to them. Otherwise, you see, when you are Guma, you're going to compete with someone from India before Bank of Baroda, chances are high that the other one will make it. If you go into their supermarkets, they will not allow your products. If you are producing water and theirs are there, you will find supermarkets full of their own products.
The current world economic order have anything to do with that? Is there any the dynamics
You
of
see,
the current world economic order?
If you can't protect your markets, I was listening to BBC today. The president of Myanmar is very clear that for you to be the president of that country, you must not have a foreigner in your DNA. You marry from outside, you can't rule them because they are between China and India.
That happened to President Kaunda, you remember?
Yeah, they are between China, and that's why
was that right?
San Suu Kyi, that's their thinking. And I'm telling you that if you privatized and you wanted to steal these corporations, this is the result that you have.
Actually, the Myanmar situation, some analysts think that it is because he is trying to keep the popular opposition leader out. That's why he's saying.
Yeah, but she has a kid, I think, with.
Because this is a popular opposition leader. This guy
no, but the law,
using a populist.
No.
A populist.
The law was put in place.
Actually, Myanmar is one of the most undemocratic countries in the world. This is very clear.
The law was put in place by her own father.
So you are saying that if your father makes mistakes, then you own them. Really?
No, I want to walk down
because
that
the example of Myanmar, you're giving an example of one of the most undemocratic, one of the most autocratic societies that we have in the world currently. And so it happened in Zambia with President Kaunda. Is that fair? Is that honest? Is that just? Maybe.
You are done?
You could say it is.
You are done?
But I think it's dishonest too, to use some of those examples which are used to keep people out, I think.
You are done?
You have a minute to conclude.
No, you can take it if you want. You are done?
You have a minute to conclude because we are being told
so all in all, when we are in the church,
and you usually go there,
the Catholic Church, in the confession, you say, I'm a sinner, and then you keep on banging on your chest. I'm a sinner.
You can bang for people to view. Show us.
I'm a sinner, I'm a sinner, I'm a sinner. And that's why I asked God to forgive me. President Museveni needs to bang his chest. It's not my cabinet that has failed me. It's not my cabinet that has failed me. It's not my cabinet that has failed me. I have failed myself. There is no way a minister who has been chased by Uganda 3 times and I have also chased him, I should have brought him back in the name of Jim Wes.
On that point of chest banging dramatics by Charles Rumshana, thank you for keeping with us for the face-off, and may we see you next Friday. Baguma Tinka Simiru signing out. Keep watching WBS Television.